Hey everybody, welcome into the Delmarva Sports Insider, your live and local show dedicated to giving you local sports here on the shore. I'm Sports Director Brandon Bossert.
What is up? It is yours truly, sports anchor Devin J. Martin. Welcome into the show. We got a Christmas special basically coming up tonight, so we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we've got the Governor's Challenge coming up next week, Devin. We've got Christmas Eve coming tomorrow, Christmas the next day. You got any plans coming up?
I want to go spend time with my family, definitely. And then also on Sunday, watch all the NBA basketball. That's going to be all over 47 ABC. And then get mentally prepared for the Governor's Challenge on Monday. It'll be my first time coming here and being at the Governor's Challenge.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot coming up next week. You haven't been through the Governor's Challenge yet, but
I was supposed to go last year, but they canceled it. But I'm glad it's back.
Right. But luckily, everyone here at 47 ABC is going to have the day off because we've got all that NBA action coming up on Sunday. So can't wait. I'll be with my family as well. Gianna's going to have a few gifts to open up under the tree coming up Sunday morning. But let's talk about the Governor's Challenge later on in the show. But first, we've got to rehash some of the action that took place earlier on this week. Not as many games with schools letting out for Christmas break this week.
Absolutely. But in the few games that were happening this week, we saw some great battles, especially up in Delaware. So let's start there. Let's go to Greenwood. This game was back and forth between Laurel and Woodbridge. And Corey Mumford, he gets a nice feed in right there and lays the ball in for the Bulldogs. But the Blue Raiders, they come right back. They swing the ball around. Isaiah Newton takes a shot from the corner. His foot was on the line, and it is good regardless. The home team, Blue Raiders, they were up 3 at that point until the Bulldogs create the turnover. Kylie's Wilson good on the football field and on the basketball court, going coast to coast, finishing the layup, and the Bulldogs were down 1 after 1. But in the second, the Blue Raiders continued to apply some pressure. Isaiah Giles takes it coast to coast, lays it in, pushing the lead back to 3. But the Bulldogs aren't done just yet. Kylie's Wilson, again with the steal, he throws it up to Dontarius Jones, who
That's
finishes
pretty.
the
We're
play.
going to see a lot of that this year. Bulldogs came out a different team in the second half, tied out of the locker room. There's Dontarius Jones, pull up 3, beats the buzzer. Laurel, 4-point edge going to the 4th. Dogs carried that momentum into the 4th. They dominate, especially on defense, holding the Blue Raiders to just 4 points in the final 8 minutes. Hey, there's Dontarius Jones capping it off with a jam as Laurel takes it by 16. They're 2-0. They're going to go to New Jersey for the Boardwalk Classic beginning on Monday.
Now, 2 of our other top contenders in the Henlopen meeting on Tuesday. Dover traveling to take on Polytech. Denham Perkins from downtown right there knocks the 3 from the corner, and we're all tied up at 31 as we start the second half. But here come the Panthers. Brent Shelton Hoskins with the hustle play. He steals the ball up to Darrell Little, who throws it down right there. Panthers with a 9-0 run to take a commanding lead. And more from Perkins. The junior buries the triple. He was on target all night long.
Yeah, he's a great player.
He absolutely is, and a great shooter. 32 points for the Senators, the lead all scorers. Xavier Brewington with the rejection, and that's up to Kyle Gamber. Gamber, he's going to get left wide open in transition, pulls up from 3. He had 27. That was close until the closing minutes.
Yeah, you don't leave Kyle Gamber open like that. Hey, Little swatting the ball away, creates a fast break. Brewington finishes on the other end. Polytech, they are a sleeper team to watch out for in the Henlopen. They defeat Dover 67-59. Panthers efficient closing this game out. They knocked down 17 of 19 from the line in the 4th quarter alone. An impressive win by the Panthers.
You win a lot of games making those that type of free throws in the 4th quarter.
Yeah.
With our class that we have, a lot of us are seniors, so we've been banking on this year for a long time, especially with last year we fell a little short, so this year really should be our year.
We can go a long way. I feel like we can make it to the chip. If we keep working and getting rebounds over good teams, even though we're small, we can go to the chip. I feel like that.
As far as we believe, really, we believe we can go to the state champ. We also believe we can go to the conference. It's just a matter of what we put in at practice and if we can display it on the court.
A lot of confidence, and you know what? I would be confident if I were them too. Now to some other interesting scores from this week. Cape Henlopen, watch out for the Vikings. They're 3-1. Their only loss was to Dover. They thrashed Red Lion. They also beat Cesar Rodney this week. Seaford's offense explodes once again. One thing the Jays can do is score 98 points against IR after 107 points scored against Sussex Academy. Milford over Smyrna by 10 as the Bucks started off 4-0 before their first loss to undefeated St. George's last night. But Milford is on our radar moving forward, and Central wins the Battle of Georgetown by a dozen.
So, Brandon, for my top 5, it's still very early on in the season. I just want to reiterate that. Very early on in the season. So, a lot of these teams haven't even played 5 games. But out of the little sample size that we have, I have Seaford at number 1.
I don't think many are going to disagree with that.
And my reasoning is, I think the combo Brent Ricketts, the 2 different Matthews brothers that play on the team, and Kareem Bolden is a solid enough roster that's deep enough, I think, that they have enough offensive firepower, as you just mentioned, that they're in the top spot for me. Laurel is right behind them at number 2. You can flip-flop them depending on how you feel. Polytech, they showed that they are to be reckoned with as well with their early season win over Dover, who I have at number 4. And for me, Lake Forest, number 5.
And now let's go ahead and turn to my list here. We've got Laurel at number 1. But, hey, the margin is razor thin. Like you said, I could see Seaford being number 1. I can see all the reasons why Seaford would be number 1. But they're my number 2. As of now, I think Seaford has better depth on their roster. But I'll take the top 2 of Jones and Corey Mumford on that team. I think that those are just 2 dynamic players. Obviously, Brent Ricketts is one of the best players in the entire state, but Dontarius Jones and Corey Mumford are right up there with him, in my opinion.
I think it's a flip-flop. You can either way, both those guys both of those teams are on the same level.
Yeah, I think Laurel also has better defense. I think Seaford's going to be in a lot more shootouts.
Yeah.
But I think Laurel can win more games with that defense. Polytech with a statement win over Dover. They might be undersized, but Polytech plays very smart basketball, and we saw it against Dover. Big fan of Kyle Gamber. He shoots the lights out. He's clutch, and he knocks down tough shots, and he sinks his free throws at the end. He's clutch and always knows what he's doing on the floor. Coach's dream, that kid. Dover falls to 4. Denham Perkins, fantastic player. We've seen him shooting this season. He is fantastic for Dover, but needs other players around him to step up, including Jaheim Harrell.
Yep.
Only had single digits against Polytech the other night. And Milford coming in 5th for me. I think that they're showing the ability to go from 11-9 last year to a playoff team this year. Nothing but seniors and juniors on that team, led by Kravitz up there with the Bucks. All right, so like I've been saying, impressed by Polytech. Gamber's a player. Durrell Wright and Brewington are 2 stellar players as well who are smart with the ball. And we saw it in those highlights, how many times they were able to get turnovers on the fast break. It leads to easy lay-ins on the other end.
And you mentioned something also in the highlights, making 17 of 19 free throws as a team.
You don't see many teams doing that.
No, especially not on the high school level, and that will win you a majority of the games because you can just, a lot of these kids sometimes lose games because they miss too many free throws.
Right.
And that shows the discipline and the mental fortitude that they have as a team to be able to do that.
Right. Free throws and turnovers as well. You don't see them turning the ball over too much. And everyone that I talked to after the game talked about communication. They communicate very well on the floor. And you can tell these guys have been playing for a long time together. 2 of their leading players are seniors. Another one's a junior. Mostly seniors on this team for Polytech. This year is their year to make some noise, especially come playoff time. And I can see them being dangerous. I could see them giving Seaford or Laurel a run for their money in the Henlopen Championship game if they're able to get that to that point.
And they got to play the same way that they played against Dover. But again, a lot of poise is what they have, and that's why we agree they're both number 3 for us. And obviously we have Dover as of now. It's very fluid; things can change. And then I think the only thing that we disagree on, besides the top 2, which I'll talk about, is obviously you have Milford at number 5. I think there's their strength of schedule. I think they've had a lot of easy wins. Why I think like Lake Forest. I think Milford's 4-1, Lake Forest is 3-1. And I think some of Lake Forest's wins is a little bit more impressive for me. That's why I have them at 5. But Milford has been very good. They've turned it around as well. And again, it's still very early on, so things can change. It's very fluid. So as I want to recognize some of our other squads as well, besides just, Laurel and Seaford as well, because, Milford, Cape Henlopen, those are teams that are also very good. Obviously, I have Lake in my top 5. But to me, especially with the way that, Polytech defeated Dover, the 2 teams at the top, as we both agree on, is still Seaford and Laurel. They're both 2-0. But the reason why I'm going to go with Seaford at the top, because I went to the Laurel game, and I just like a little bit more from what I've seen from the Blue Jays so far, just a tiny bit more than what I've seen from the Bulldogs. Laurel got the win over Woodbridge, obviously by 16, but that game wasn't as close as 6. It was much closer than 16 points. It was a lot closer than the actual final result. They were able to pull away with the win, but But Woodbridge led for a majority of that game, a good chunk of that game, and was giving Laurel a better fight than I would have expected for a period of the game. And Woodbridge only played 7 guys, while Laurel had 12 guys on that roster.
Yeah, Woodbridge had a shallow bench last year as well.
Absolutely did, but they were pushing Laurel the entire time, and that's a game that Laurel should have been up by 25, maybe by the third quarter, but it wasn't until the fourth quarter that they were able to kind of go on that run.
Yeah,
so that's why I would have Seavert.
And we'll also be on the lookout for Cape Henlopen as well. Let's move on now to the Bayside, specifically a 1A North battle.
Yep, that was the North Dorchester Eagles and the Colonel Richardson Colonels who went at it earlier this week. Javon Hudson was leading the way for the Eagles. They are new and new. Let me just say that again. They are definitely a reborn team compared to last year. He hit the defense with the crossover, made the tough layup, and then got the block on the other side right there. The Colonels come back and try to drive to the rim, but Hudson tells him to get it out of here right there. He said, get that weak stuff out of there. But then again, you see him getting the rebound and then shooting the basket and making it. And the Eagles were leading by double digits throughout the majority of the game. And then Hudson in transition got the basket right there. But it gets deflected, and then he puts it right back up and in. And again, the Colonels had a tough time getting past the Eagles defense, but they got the bucket to go. But again, it's Hudson again, ISOing at the top of the key, saying I'll do it myself, and gets the layup to
Man
go.
amongst boys there.
Yeah, absolutely. He basically closed the deal for him. And then you just add insult to injury, a pull-up 3 with 2 minutes to go. That was basically the game. You see that North Dorchester won over Colonel Richardson earlier in this week.
Right, 63-44, the final score from North Dorchester. We got to keep an eye on the Eagles because they've been impressing so far.
Yep.
Other scores from this week include Y High over Chincoteague 85-39. And hey, the Tribe are 6-0 every single year. Butch Waller says, I don't know, I think we're rebuilding. And then I look up and Y High is undefeated.
Yep.
So I think Butch is, I got to watch out for him. I can't take his advice too much because, you know what, I got to just think that Y High's just going to be undefeated.
He knows his gamesmanship. He's been coaching for long enough. He's like, I don't want to sell too high. That's what it is.
I mean, it helps when you have Antoine Wilson on the squad, right? 37 points is what they're winning by per game this year. Decatur takes care of Pocomoke by 15, and the Seahawks are back at 500. North Carolina moves to 2-3, 93-62 winners over Crisfield, and the Crabbers now fall to 0-5 on the year.
Now, Brandon, I think we both know that the best teams in the Bayside this week are, a top 2 out of the pair, whether it's, Y High, Bennett, or Queen Anne's, either 2 of those 3. Those are probably our top 3 for both of us. But I want to focus on some other teams in the Bayside that are also pretty good as well. The 1A is looking a lot more competitive this season than it did last year. I mean, last season it was just all Cambridge.
There's a lot of competitive teams in the 1A.
Right, and, North Dorchester, Snow Hill, and Washington are all teams.
Washington playing as well as they have been
Absolutely. We mentioned it a little bit last week that Washington had a really bad season, and they're already have the same win total that they have now than they did in their entire season. But North Dorchester too. Yeah. Last year they're
looking a lot better.
They were 4-16. Right now they're 4-1, so they've already matched their win total as well. So the Eagles have completely turned things around, and until proven otherwise, though, again, Cambridge, South Dorchester is the team at the top of the 1A. But now that Washington's a lot better, Snow Hill's a lot better, and North Dorchester is a lot better, Cambridge is going to have to watch their backs a little bit and be prepared from some other fights from within their own conference.
Yeah, and it's great to see the Eagles making noise up north. So far this season in the Bayside, it's been as advertised. Not only is Antoine Wilson and Y High elite once again, we've got Bennett, Queen Anne's look great, and then Snow Hill and Washington making a lot of noise in the South in the 1A. Almost everybody in the Bayside is competitive this season, and we've already seen a lot of fantastic games. So we'll see a lot of these teams at the Governor's Challenge next week as well. And that'll do it for the A block because we're calling our first time out. We're talking about the Governor's Challenge. It's back starting on Monday. We'll take you behind the scenes at the setup for the biggest holiday basketball tournament in the country coming up next.
This is Coach Waller at Wycomico High School. First of all, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everybody. This is, we appreciate Delmarva Sports Insider covering us. They do a great job. Great job. Great job.